Welcome, young ones! Come, sit by the fire. We have much to talk about. Ho 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 ho. This is an exciting morning for you all. Why? Well, you're the fine age of 12, are you not? You know what that means. Congratulations, children. You have all been chosen to receive your soul bands. Now, children, let's not get too excited. I first need to have you pass these down to your peers. We have yellow for boys and blue for girls. I do understand you all have not yet used these pendants. However, I will ensure to teach each and every one of you in the art of soul bonding. It's almost as if yesterday I watched you all run around the totem playing with one another. Oh, how times pass. Ho ho ho. One more thing, children. In order for you to use these mystical devices properly, you must create an everlasting bond with a partner. Where to find such partner? Right here! Ho ho ho! Allow me to introduce you all to your new everlasting partners. Hey, one at a time. Hello YouTube, it's NOBL, and welcome back to Pokemon Kansa. I want to start by saying thank you all so much for the support on the Kansa region thus far. As of making this video, Pokemon Kansa has reached over 100 views, and is now my second most viewed video on my channel. I really didn't expect this series to get so much support, but thank you all so much. Your support does nothing more than fuel my determination to make content for you all, so I couldn't be more grateful. But enough sappiness, let's get into the video. Anyways, as you just saw, I decided to go back and make a Pokemon intro for the South, just so they don't miss out. Who was more entertaining? Was it Elder Motto or Professor Vervain? Nevertheless, I have a decent sized video planned for you all today, so strap in. Today we will be going over the map and story of Pokemon Kansa. Creating a Pokemon map was difficult. Very difficult. You see, the Pokemon Company has a specific style when it comes to making their maps that's hard for me to replicate in my own art style. I actually had a few goes at the map, making different changes here and there. Overall, this took me a solid 4 days to make, which may or may not include getting frustrated and walking away from the tablet a couple times, but we don't need to talk about that. As for the geography of Kansa, I basically took the real state of Kansas and flipped it on its side, making edits here and there like rivers and such. I think the geography, though not looking much like Kansas, came out great. It makes the map stand out more than a plain Kansas map would. The river was a huge emphasis in the story, so I needed to make it large and apparent. Let's go over that story real quick, shall we? Pokemon Kansa is based on the real-life tragedy known as Bloody Kansas, or Bleeding Kansas. For those of you who don't know, Bloody Kansas was a struggle between Missouri and Kansas back during, or rather before, the Civil War. To sum up this tragedy, it was a guerrilla-like warfare between the slave-owning Missouri citizens and the free-stated Kansas citizens. Both sides suffered tragedy, and this lasted roughly 4 years. Now, I know that was a lot. While I can't translate such a horrible event into a Pokemon game, I found a way to portray this historic event in a somewhat lighthearted way. The basic gist of the Pokemon Kansa story is a struggle between the Unovan settlers of the north and the Kansan natives of the south. Whereas the Northerners want to introduce the Pokemon League system into Kansa, the Southerners want Kansa to stay the same. Call it a battle of changing tradition. This is why there's a choice between starting in the North or the South, as it would change the way the story's seen. That's about all I want to give away about the story of the region. I wouldn't want to expo dump you all this early, so let's move on to the inspiration of each town and location in Kansa, starting with Chapwood Village. Chapwood Village is the starting zone of the natives, and where you all just spoke to Elder Motto. This location is roughly based on my hometown of Chapman, Kansas, a small town off of Interstate 70. I had a lot of charming memories in this town, so I knew I had to incorporate it somehow. As for the design, it's loosely based off of a Native American village. Moving along, we have the Flint Highlands. This is a wild area-like location that spans throughout the middle of the whole region. It's based on the real-life Flint Hills that cut through Kansas in a similar fashion. I wanted to add this to make the region more diverse from what outsiders expect Kansas to look like, as many people see it as a flat land of crops and cows, which it's only 75%. Turning back, we can head northeast of Chapwood and end up in the Smoky Woods. This is a large wooded area based on the Smoky Hill River. Wait, NOBL, a forest based on a river? That makes no sense. Well, this one is another from my childhood. The river that runs south of Chapman is the Smoky Hill River, a large river spanning from eastern Colorado that stretches through central Kansas. The forest is based on a small tree line I used to play in with my friends growing up. Good times. Exiting the Smoky Woods, we reach Appletown. This place is slightly based on Manhattan, in stereotypical settler education camps, if that's what you call them. You know, when settlers set up schools in native villages to teach Yeah, you know. This is where the Unovans have set up to teach the Kansans about the Pokemon League, its rules, and how to properly control and own Pokemon. Heading back to the Flint Highlands, we have a couple options. Traveling south, we can reach the second largest city in the Kansa region, Everbright City. This location is based on Wichita, Kansas, the largest city in the state. In Pokemon Kansa, this is where many of the Unovan settlers who want a piece of Kansas' fertile pie set up, as the southern part of the region is the most rich in resources. This also acts as a place for the natives of Kansa to come together and see what life is like in the city. If we head west to the Highlands, we reach Paxi Town. This place is kinda based on Paxico, Kansas, a small town within the Flint Hills. This acts as our farm town, as I needed to represent the farmers of Kansas, even if this farm is a bit smaller than those found here. Following the route of windmills and fieldlands, we reach Saline Town. This place is based on the multiple warehouses we have out here. Seriously, they're everywhere. This would also represent the change coming with the settlers, as they've ran out of room to build their warehouses up north and are now cutting into the nature of the south. After seeing what Saline has to offer, you can now take a ferry to the premier location of Kansa. Welcome to New Castelia. This would be the capital of Kansa and the third largest city. Here's where the more elite citizens reside, making trade deals, corporation decisions, and stuff like that. It's also the main port of Kansa, so for most foreigners, this is the first location they visit. Taking a ferry north of New Castelia, you'd reach a route with a couple options. Heading southeast would grant you access to a small town called Etzanoa Town. It's a small refuge for Unovan and Kansan people alike, a place where they both live in harmony with one another. North of the route will greet you with Union City. This is the largest city in Kansa. It's based on Kansas City, and while only half is located in Kansas, I just had to add it in. This bustling city is where the Unovan people have been able to survive in Kansa, as its access to the battle subway allowed Unovans quick and easy travel back and forth Kansa and Unova. If you're lucky, maybe after you finish your journey here, you can travel to Unova as well. Just east of Union City is the Quivira Woodlands. This is a small woodland area connecting Union City with Cottonwood City. This place is based on the Quivira National Wildlife Refuge found near Kansas City. Exiting the forest, you reach Cottonwood City. This is where Professor Vervain spoke of in her broadcast. It's based on Lawrence, Kansas, a well-known college town. Here it housed Cottonwood University, a blossoming institute where you'd be taught everything you need to know to be a Pokemon master. This also serves as the starting town for the northern trainers of the region. Heading back to Union City and going west, we hit another route with branching paths. Here, if you head north of the route, you hit the Laban High Tops. This is a phenomenon in the Kansa region where this chain of hills are at a constant negative 40 degrees, causing it to be a haven for ice types. Due to this phenomena, researchers from the Weather Institute in Unova have set up a research center calling it Frostbite Town. Heading west of the route will lead you to a bend. Here you can continue forward or make a slight detour in the Quivira Hills. This is a small gated community in which the richest people of Kansa reside. You may just find some of the most important trainers here as well. Continuing on the route will lead you to the Wildland. This is yet another small forested area, albeit a bit less dense than its other counterparts. This is based on the Wyandotte Wildlands found in eastern Kansas. Exiting the Wildlands, you'll reach Skulltown and Skulltown Cemetery. This is based on Stoll, a small town southeast of Topeka, Kansas. Fun fact, the Stoll Cemetery is said to be demonic, and is actually one of the 7 gates to hell. In the Pokemon world, however, this location is home to many ghosts and dark Pokemon alike. Now, if you've been paying attention, you may notice we haven't covered any of the southwest of Kansa. This area is reached via ferry from New Castelia and symbolizes far western Kansas. The first town on our journey takes us to Ambertown. This is based on Hays, Kansas, a large city that's home to a prehistoric Kansas museum. I went there for a field trip as a kid and had to make this a fossil location. Here you can revive fossils found in the Kansa drylands surrounding Ambertown. South of the drylands is Migo Town. This is a ghost town long forgotten by the harsh climates of the drylands. Not much is known about this town, despite the fact that neither Unovan nor Kansan citizens have any record of ever living here. And with that, I've summed up the Kansa region. Let me know what you like and don't like about it in the comments. I'm always open to suggestions on my art and ideas, so please feel free to comment any criticisms down below. I'm not done quite yet, however. If I can have you for just a few more minutes, I'd like to introduce you all to some of the most wondrous Pokemon to be found in the Kansa region's southernmost routes. First was our Route 1 bird. I wanted to pick a bird that both can be found in Kansas and would help symbolize the difference between the north and the south of the region. That's when I remembered that, though not native, Kansas has a plethora of Blue Jays and Cardinals. This is where Birdie came to mind. This Pokemon would evolve differently depending on which one you'd receive. Birdie, the small bird Pokemon. These Pokemon have fooled scientists for years. After thorough research, it has been concluded that despite looking different, these are actually the same Pokemon. Birdie of the north appear red, whilst the Birdie in the south have a light blue color. Next was Northern Birdie's evolution. The Cardinal is a basic bird, at least in comparison to the Blue Jay. Where the Blue Jay has all these patterns adorning its wings, Cardinals are just, well, red. I did my best with the limited design, however, and came up with Cardinal. Its shiny is a reference to yellow Cardinals, which look like a real-life shiny Cardinal in their own right. Cardling, the Cardinal Pokemon. Upon evolution, Birdie of the North will evolve into this Pokemon. It's considerably more energetic than its southern counterparts. The songs these Pokemon sing throughout the northern routes of Kanza is said to be therapeutic enough to cure intense sadness. So now on to Southern Birdie's evolution. I wanted the Blue Jay Pokemon to be a cool, laid-back kind of line, whereas the Cardinal will be a more upbeat and energetic one. I portrayed this mainly in their pose, as Jay Blue's pose is more of a hovering at rest rather than flying right at you. Jay Blue, the Blue Jay Pokemon. Birdie in the southernmost parts of Kanza evolved into this Pokemon, while Northern Birdie evolved into something entirely different. Jay Blue are rather calm and rarely seen sparring one another. Now to evolve Cardling. Cardonorth was a very difficult design. I actually designed Jay Blue's evolution before this one. However, due to Pokédex order, you're seeing Cardonorth first. The colors on this one popped off, making me a bit more confident in its design. Cardonorth, the Cardinal Pokemon. These speedy, energetic Pokemon are seen throughout the northern plains and forests of Kanza. They feud with the southern Jaymander whenever one wanders north. Cardonorth's small size should result in it being prey for many Pokemon in Kanza. However, their fierce fighting style makes them more predator than prey. Now Jay Blue's evolution. Since Jay Blue were so laid back, I want Jaymander to be a wise, cunning Pokemon rather than an energetic fighter like Cardonorth was. I portrayed this in its stance and dex entry, as it states that Jaymander are more of a thinker than a fighter. Jaymander, the Blue Jay Pokemon. Jaymander are so relaxed that they can come up with and execute strategies mid-battle. Unlike their northern counterparts, Jaymander think before they act, causing them to avoid battle more than Cardonorth. If Jaymander and Cardonorth are to run into one another, however, Jaymander will easily outsmart the northern bird. Disclaimer, this line is my favorite of the video. Smole was a fun Route 1 rodent to make. I originally went for an Opossumon, however the design was a bit bland, so I went for a different pest. This line has great inspiration too, being inspired by the phrase, "Don't make a mountain out of a molehill." Smole, the mole Pokemon. Whilst blind, Smole are very aware of their senses. It's a rather hard Pokemon to capture, as it can hear a crack of a branch from meters. They often run into Drillbur underground. Upon evolving Smole, I knew Motahill needed to be huge. It is a mountain after all. I had this image in my head of this hulking monster that's just a softie who cares for those smaller than itself. The small Smole popping out of the shell-like hill on its back is just adorable as well. Motahill, the mountain Pokemon. These Pokemon are nearly never seen, unless you're underground of course. They nest Smole on their backs as they travel above ground. Most Pokemon leave them alone, as their size and power are not to be underestimated. This one went through a lot of design changes. Barabug started as a Chiggermon, chiggers being those small red bugs that make you itch if you roll around in grass. Every summer kid's worst nightmare, am I right? However, this design never quite fit. It wasn't until I found Chigger's more accurate name of Berrybugs that an idea was born. Barabug, the berry Pokemon. These poor small Pokemon are a main food source for many Pokemon in Kanza. The berry they burrow into grants them nourishment, however it also slows Barabug to an easy speed for predators to reach them. When their berry spoils, they find a new one. Bushel was another that was difficult to design. The only idea I had for a cocoon of a Berrymon was just a bigger berry. I'm glad I redid my design, however, as the berry bush was such a great idea. Not to mention, Bushel looks way more adorable in this rendition compared to the other ones. Those were nightmare fuel. Bushel, the berry bush Pokemon. Upon evolution, Barabug form a bush-like cocoon to help them blend in with the forest habitat. This works flawlessly, as predators have a hard time telling what's a bush and what's a bushel. The berries that grow on bushel are incredibly nutritious. For the final evolution, I went for a royalty-like theme. Since Barabug looked a bit like an ant, I decided to play into it, making for Majesty a queen. The spots on its abdomen is supposed to represent spoil markings that fruits often create when fermenting. Also, as you can see, I used a Fakemon's body shape as a reference to create the better body shape of For Majesty. If you guys see that as cheating or plagiarism in any way, please let me know in the comments below. For Majesty, the queenly Pokemon. A single For Majesty will oversee a large territory with an army of Barabug. Their lower abdomen is surrounded by a fermenting berry to deter predators. This scent is nasty to all but Barabug, who see it as a signal of where their queen is located. So that's the map, story, and new Pokemon of the Kansa region. That was a lot, I know, but I hope you all enjoyed. Once again, thank you so much for your support. I never expected Kansa to get as big as it is now, and that's all thanks to you lovely viewers who tune in each week. We have exciting things to come on this channel very soon, so stay tuned. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. NOBL out.